I've got a more specific question here regarding, I have a significant IRS bill from last year, and haven't had some challenges. I could do one of those where basically you settle with IRS on a lesser amount, and I could make myself look less financially well off than I am in order to settle for pennies on the dollars or whatever they proclaim, some of these attorneys that actually settle these things. But and of course I answered my own question when I thought about it several days back, but I still wanted to propose it to you. Again, the government spends a whole lot of money on military and different things like that, so I'm not necessarily in agreement with what they're doing with the money. But my question is, again, I owed the IRS a considerable chunk of money, and if I had to, I could come up with that chunk of money. But if I had to, I could also a less of a financial picture for myself where I could settle with the IRS for a far less amount. So what would be the proper thing to do from an Abraham perspective?
Well, now let's fill this out in terms of what is the dominant vibration. We'll show you how this works. So which vibration feels best to you? The vibration of abundance and well-being, or the vibration of not enoughness?
Precisely. I mean, that's exactly where I went with it.
So you say, well, but I'll practice not enoughness just long enough to get this job done. And we say, and in doing so...
Exactly.
And the other thing is, it's not a good thing to practice, but it's also not an easy thing to fake. In other words, if you feel abundance, then
it's very stifling. It really is, and it was a very quick
so
answer.
Then let's talk about it in the other way. Let's talk about the IRS. And so when you think about the IRS and the money that they spend for bombs and things that you disagree in, you can feel how restricting that is and what a vibrational mismatch that is to well-being. In other words, you can feel that even though that's a valid thought, even though that's a true thought, even though that's an absolutely accurate thought, even though your point of view is dead on, in other words, you didn't make it up, even though it's a belief that you hold, is it one that serves you? And can you tell by... And so this is the thing about this virtual reality that we're wanting you to understand. We want you to stop feeling the need to tell the truth and start feeling the need to tell whatever it is that makes you feel better. Now, some would say, oh, so you're telling him, don't tell the truth to the IRS, pretend that he's making less money than he is. We're saying, that didn't make him feel good. In other words, that's not what we're saying. And so then you say, well... I like doing my part. That's true. I like carrying my weight. I don't mind helping someone out. I have contributed and would continue to contribute if I saw need somewhere. And while I might do a better job of distributing it than they do, I'm not opposed to the idea of contributing. I like the idea of having excess in my experience. I like the idea of earning more than I really need. Here's what we've noticed as we've watched people wrestle with this issue, is that let's say that you are earning $100,000 a year, and you're paying the IRS $40,000 of that, and you are keeping $60,000. We're just finding figures. And you begin to feel resentment about what you're paying to the IRS. And in doing so, you begin closing down, and your well-being begins withering, and now you're making less. On the other hand, as you are appreciating what you are receiving, and you're not pushing against what they're taking away from you, in that vibration, now you're making $200,000 a year, and they're only taking $80,000 of it, and now you have $120,000, and now in that vibration you're making $500,000 a year. In other words, in the vibration of well-being, the universe yields to you more and more and more and more and more. In the vibration of not enoughness, you pinch yourself off from it, you see.
Absolutely. I mean, I stated very proudly how much I owed, because of course, the more you make, obviously, the more you pay Uncle Sam. But
you might want to then let's play this a little further. Does this debt weigh heavily over you? In other words, is it something that is uncomfortable, or is it something that is a non-issue?
It's really not an issue, but I could have made it an issue in order to.
Let us put it to you in this way: you say, "I could pay the debt now."
Sure.
Does paying the debt now put me in a financial situation of closeness that feels better or worse than holding the debt? In other words, which feels best? To have a moderate debt with the IRS and have other money of flexibility, or would it feel better to me to pay this debt and be closer? In other words, you get to choose which feels better.
Right.
And we would make all of our decisions based upon which feels better, not upon what somebody else says should happen, or not upon something that you say you can do, which feels better.
Right. As a matter of fact, I was in the process of calling a friend just to discuss the matter with him, and even before it rang sufficiently for him to pick up, the answer came to my mind, and really where it came from was the three things that you speak about: freedom, growth, and joy. And that's where I made my decision based on. It's just going to offer me freedom. And of course, anytime you deal with the IRS or any kind of large government body, it's going to impinge upon your freedom. So that right there just made it very clear for me as to what I was going to do. But
sometimes people will be involved in a lawsuit, and they say, well, can I continue this lawsuit and allow well-being to continue to come to me? And we say, usually not, because usually in the middle of a lawsuit, you have to proclaim your inadequacy or your vulnerability or your problem. And you've got to get it activated pretty good in order for them to believe it. And once you've activated it pretty good, now you're in the place where you're disallowing your own well-being. And people will say, but I'm so close and I could win really big. And we say, you never win anywhere near what you give up in those situations.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's beautiful.